Good morning. I'd like to call to order the June meeting of the Binghamton Local Development Corporation. You have in front of you the minutes from the May 30th regular meeting.
Update the date on that.
That's May, right? These are May, right?
Sorry.
Okay.
Yes, it
Okay.
is.
So the minutes you have say March, that should say May. So I'll take a motion when everyone's ready.
I'll make the motion.
Ron, Sophia, thank you. Any comments or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you. Rachel, take it away.
Okay, so we have the May 2023 financial report, and we'll start on page 4 for the restricted account. The end of month balance in the restricted account was $793,672.89.
Sure.
Then we will skip over to page 6 for the UDAG account. The end of month balance in UDAG was $945,943.95. And then we'll skip to page 7 for the UDAG receivables. So nothing particularly new in receivables except that one of our mini micros, PA Every Architects, is paid off. So that's great. So on page 8 for the unrestricted account, just a little bit of activity in unrestricted. There was no activity in the Enterprise Triad account.
Nice rain. Cool. I'll call you back.
No activity in the Veterans Initiatives account, and no activity in the grant account. So on the delinquency page, nothing new there. We're still getting a few things straightened out with 142 Court Street and with North Depot. We do expect them to pay. So we're figuring that out right now. So at the end of the month, the delinquency percentage of all loans not designated as non-performing was 0.52.
Great. Any questions for Rachel? Thank you very much. So on to new business. Resolution 2314, resolution of the Board of Directors of the Binghamton Local Development Corporation approving the proposed budget for fiscal year 23-24. I believe you have a copy of the budget proposed in your packet. Sarah?
I'm actually going to pass that one over to Rachel.
Okay.
We didn't make many changes. The only thing was that we added some money into our marketing fund, right?
Yeah, so when you look at, and when we put this into Paris, they asked us to project out for 4 years. That's why we have very rough projections out for 4 years. And they don't have to necessarily be accurate. This is just based on the loans that we have currently, what we're projecting for like receivable interest income and that sort of thing. Everything else has been pretty steady, so we were able to project that relatively accurately. As Sarah said, the only major change is that we are asking to increase our marketing budget. It has previously been $15,000, and we would like to increase that to $25,000 out of the UDAG account.
Yeah, this is a budget line. We bump up against that 15,000 every year, and we get more requests for things we want to do than we can reasonably meet. That gives us flexibility to support different events that are happening. We're seeing, and this will be in my report as well, we're seeing a really big increase in interest in events and in organizations that want to be doing things in downtown, and we want to have the flexibility to support those programs and projects when they come in, especially as we're trying to recover in this post-COVID and get more people back into downtown and increase occupancy in commercial storefronts. And we met with some folks in Ithaca last week talked about some best practices in downtown development, and those funds will help us be able to implement some of those things. We don't know exactly what we're going to do, but ideas like supporting art in vacant storefronts to try to activate those and generate interest in vacant storefronts in different parts of downtown, supporting pop-up vendors in vacant storefronts to, one, provide a launch pad for smaller entrepreneurs who may not be ready to make the step of a full 12-month lease, but also showing that those storefronts can be operational and successful, and just generate more interest in those. So having some additional money in that budget will let us do some of those things.
We did that before, years ago, the DBBA did it. And there's some people in this town that really want to help out, like Michelle Schleider, Chris's wife, obviously she's a fabulous artist. And she was spearheaded us putting artwork in the storefronts rather than have them look. And I'm sure she would be happy to do that, and put together a group of local artists to do that again.
As opposed to brown paper, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, or dusty.
Well, there's other
old-
shades of paper, but
Yeah,
I think they would enjoy doing. They really enjoyed it before, and we did a lot of buildings before, and it made downtown look a little nice. Plus,
Yeah,
with
it does.
the ramp project, what this is going to be downtown in 2 years is going to be entirely different.
Absolutely.
That's
That's
great.
good.
So why is the service contract bouncing up and down so much?
So that's based on, that's our CDBG.
That is our
Sorry.
CDBG.
Steve is not here. He'd be best positioned to answer that, but it's based on the hours that we bill. So if you ever want to come and watch us do our timesheets, it's a thrilling hour and a half every 2 weeks. We have to code all of our time to different CDBG eligible activities. So it bounces up and down based on how many hours we've coded to different areas and what Steve is able to validate and then bill to HUD to reimburse us for.
and generally speaking, with these chargebacks to CDBG, HUD has been more strict over the last 5 years or so. Even things like code enforcement, they've dialed in, and we're not able to charge back as much as we used to. The activity tracking is the big thing. So kind of across the board, whether it be BLDC, code enforcement, finance, legal, we're not able to charge back to CDBG as much as we once did.
Any other questions?
Any other questions?
This has to go to city council, right?
No, this is just out. So the CDBG fiscal year 49
no,
budget has
the
to go to city
budget.
council.
Has to be approved by city. Does that have to be approved by
So
city
the
council?
full CDBG budget has to be approved by city council, but our specific budget just gets approved by us and then it gets rolled into the whole thing. So, yes, and
Yes, yes and no, and yes.
So we have a motion, please.
No.
Thank you, Ron. Second.
A second.
Thank you, Mayor. Any other questions or comments? All in favor?
Right?
Thanks.
All right. Thank you very much. Thanks to the team.
Yeah, good job, guys. That's not easy. Keeping a budget.
Resolution 23-15 is a resolution of the BLDC to accept the recommendation of the loan committee to award 4 commercial facade improvement grants. Meeting.
yes. So I can go through these. First one is Davidge Holdings at 31 Front Street. That's the Davidge mansion that Janice and Anderson renovated and moved into. So they're asking for some additional funds to support, I believe, painting. They did that initial renovation all with their own dollars, so we're happy to support them in continuing to keep that house active and keep our historic properties up and running. L2 Architects at 134 Court. They are moving from their leased office space in the train station, and they're buying this building at 134 Court. If you're down on the corner of Chapman and Court.
Centenary.
Centenary Court. It's a pretty beat up old building. We're always looking for people that want to be investing in that block to the east of the traffic circle. This will be a great project. They're really excited about it. They have to go through some challenging real estate transactions with the church to purchase it, but they're ready to hit the ground running on that. This project will end up being more than $100,000. So, but this is just this initial phase of facade work. There's a lot of interior work that has to be done, and ultimately moving their offices over onto Court Street. So taking a long time area business, being able to support them in buying a building and having a stronger foothold in downtown. It was exactly the kind of project this program was designed to
That's fantastic.
support.
Who is L2?
Leighton and Lombardini. Told knows more. They're an architecture firm.
Yeah, Nick Lombardini is on the board of COD. They've
I
been here
just
for
didn't.
Yeah.
good 15 years or so.
They had an
Great
office next to
project.
next to my old office in the train station that I moved out. So there was
And then
What building are you
Serafini.
buying?
Serafini at 375 State Street. So Nick Serafini has been calling us about this program ever since the BLDC approved it in 2022. And he actually did some work on another one of his buildings. Just decided he couldn't wait on the program. This is another one of his buildings. We also funded in the last round, I think, the makerspace across the street. So with both of those on each side of State Street, that's going to be a really great project. And the Serafini building doesn't look terrible, but it could definitely use a coat of paint, which is what he's doing on it. And it'll just brighten up that whole corridor there. And as we're doing all of this work to hopefully secure Binghamton Plaza, it'll be a nice corridor to the north side.
Right.
Satch's Tea House, so that's over in the first ward. It is a bar restaurant. They just need to do some minor exterior work. If you've been in there, they did a full interior gut renovation a few years ago. So the inside is all brand new, and this will just spruce up the outside, which will be good because it's a neighborhood bar. It's in a residential area, so them being able to invest in that and be better neighbors. They are good neighbors and they're welcome in that area, but just be even better neighbors to the folks that are living over there with the sensitivities of having a bar restaurant in a residential area. And then finally, Team World, we awarded them, I believe, last month. They came back and asked for some additional funds, came and showed us some additional pictures that they had of the damage that was happening as a result of, it's not just a paint job, it's also a sealant that they have to put on because they're having water issues. And when it rains, it creates these like large streaks. They're a major employer. It's kind of that gateway on the south side. We have a lot of tourists actually who go up to that part of town to visit McIntosh. So being able to kind of put a good face on that, and it's still a relatively small amount of money compared to their total project cost and fits within the realm of the project. So we were happy to reconsider that and taking a look at that, and the loan committee decided it was a worthwhile increase in their award.
They had borrowed from us before, years ago.
Yes, years ago.
Okay.
And, it's solid people.
Yeah. I mean,
And
longstanding.
this is a good
outside
message
business.
that the city is willing to help all
Absolutely.
these businesses. And even Nikki, who's been mad at the city for a few years. This, my personal opinion, this is all great stuff.
Yeah, and with that, we have fully allocated $500,000. So we are still accepting applications because, as we know, projects ebb and flow. Some of these probably won't go forward. We'll be able to recapture some of those funds. We're also looking to other state programs that might be able to support outstanding applications. We have a couple of really, really large dollar asks for huge projects that we're going to try to fold into a larger application for state funds that'll actually get them up to 75% of their total project cost. So should go a little bit farther. This was exactly what we wanted the program to do, was to help us demonstrate where the needs were so that we could apply for other funds where it was appropriate, support projects individually where it was appropriate, and just show that there's a long-term pent-up need for this kind of funding that ultimately, hopefully, we can go back to City Council and ask for additional funds or find them in other areas. I think it so far has accomplished everything it needs to accomplish. We have a couple of projects that are starting or have asked for permission to start. So we should start seeing some actual work happening in downtown. I
We
think
have one that's finished, actually,
Okay.
the Phelps Mansion Museum, they finished their
Yes.
door.
And then I saw some work happening on State Street on a property that I believe was approved through this. So things are happening. And as we have completed projects, we'll collect photographs and testimonials from those folks and bring those back to this board as well.
Great job. I move that we accept the.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mayor. Any other questions or comments about this? This is a great
Exactly
program.
what we're supposed to.
Great program. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you all very much. These folks will be very excited about this, and thanks for all the work from the team. Amazing work.
No,
Putting up with me was a big part of it, so I appreciate that.
That's a lot.
Where's my agenda? Resolution 2316 is a resolution of the Binghamton LDC to accept the recommendation of the loan committee to award two 607 step-up grants.
Briefly look at that one. Sure. So these are two step-up grants that they both completed the SBD 607 Accelerator Program. They've both also been working with the SBDC. One of them, this first one, Sham Crowned, that's a, I think it's like a beauty company. She makes like beauty products, and she's a newer company. And then My Legacy Foods is a more established company. So they were both able to access the full 5,000, and we're very excited about it.
Yeah, and Shamcrown, you submitted an application for our business plan. She wasn't quite ready for prime time, but hopefully with this investment, she'll reapply next year and be reconsidered for that.
Any questions or comments? This board has really made an important commitment to small businesses and startups, and these are micro loans or micro grants, I should say. They're hot all over the world, and we're doing a bunch of them, and we're doing them pretty well.
Yeah, I mean, the things they're asking us to fund with these $5,000 are pretty basic, but it goes a really long way for them not having to worry about those small dollar costs and let them focus on their businesses and growing those and growing their clientele. So
Plus our commitment to
absolutely, and
big.
that's something that's important to us, is demonstrating to the community that we care about businesses, that we're there to support them. I always say, if the best thing we can do is get out of your way, I'm happy to do that. But we have a lot of programs and things that are available for folks. And the more we can get out there and show that we're available to help, is even better.
Have you turned anybody down?
Not for that program.
No, there are a lot of people who, so Sham Crown was actually one that we worked with, finding $5,000 worth of eligible costs that,
Right.
we could put in
Help
HESCO.
them.
So I've been working with a bunch of the applicants to find, enough eligible costs to,
So it's fun
Make
to
those little
meet
words.
people and see what's going on and see what people are starting.
Absolutely.
yeah.
It's
definitely.
exciting.
And I think you said the applicants to this have to complete one.
Yeah,
of a
some
number
form of business
programs.
training.
Right.
Yeah.
So, okay, may I have a motion, please?
Motion.
Ron, Sophia, thank you. Any further questions or comments?
Good job.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, the last resolution this morning is a resolution of the BLDC to authorize the president to enter an agreement with Delta Engineers, Architects, and Surveyors for design support services for the commercial facade improvement program. I believe that Rachel sent a copy of that proposal out to everybody as part of the packet for the board. Anything you want to?
No, we put out the RFP and we only got one response. So our options were to either accept that response or to go back out to bid, but we were very satisfied with Delta's submission, that it met all the criteria. There were no deficiencies and they had relevant experience that we think will be helpful to the folks who are accessing that. So we were happy to accept their proposal, and with your blessing, we'll get started with them, connecting them with the property owners who want to access that service for the commercial facade program.
It's a great.
So this is essentially if a building owner says, hey, I'd like to do something, but I don't know how to prioritize the money, or I don't have a plan for my facade,
Mhm.
they can access these as basically design services as part of their award.
Yes, and we've also had at least one applicant who came in who really wasn't ready to access the funds yet. So what we would like to do is allow them to access this. So basically, instead of getting the actual funds for the facade, they would get the engineering and architect work to put together a plan. They just don't necessarily have the expertise and experience to know what they don't know. So if we can support them through that process.
Does
we'd like to.
Delta have X number of dollars they can spend per project, so they don't spend it all on the first one or the second one?
We haven't developed that level of agreement with them yet, but with your permission, then we'll work on developing the contract. So I don't know what a reasonable amount is. To me, it seems like somewhere between 2,000 and 10,000 depending on the project, but I'm gonna have to defer to them on if they say like, no, every single one of these projects is gonna be 20,000, then we'll have to be more selective in prioritizing who gets access to the services
Right.
based on need, but hopefully they'll be in that smaller dollar amount and we can support more folks through the process.
Yes, it's beneficial to them to help us do this, and
Yes.
And
That
Anthony's
publicity.
all about helping.
he is, yeah.
Have a motion, please.
Motion.
Thank you, Betsy. Second, thank you, Frank. Any other questions, comments? All in favor?
I,
All right, this is good work. Thank you all very much.
Tremendous.
Turn the program over to the mayor.
Great. So a couple of updates regarding the Water Street Development Project. I've been on the meeting circuit in the last couple of weeks, both the city council, IDA governance, IDA standing regular meeting. We have, we have coming up the school district. So essentially yesterday, the IDA voted to accept the application for the tax abatement. This is the pilot bond, tax increment financing, or pilot increment financing, excuse me, that will allow us to basically build the podium for the apartments. As just a reminder, it's 120 units, 114 of those which are market rate, 6 of them which will be affordable, which will be 100% of AMI, a 5-story parking garage with roughly 500 spots. So there was a really great presentation yesterday by NDC, which is a consultant for the IDA, which is a third-party reviewer of their pilot applications. Anytime they receive an application that deviates from their standard pilot, which this one certainly did, they have to send it out to a third party. And the third party, I felt, and this is on video, anyone can go to the IDA website and check it out, but not only did they sort of provide a great argument for why it is necessary, but also that, not only is it necessary, but the city has developed a pilot schedule that is also very fair, that it's not undue enrichment to the developer. It is kind of in exactly the sweet spot that you need for an incentive that allows private development, but also we're not giving away the store by any means. And so that was very reassuring to have a third party, national expert kind of weigh in on that. There were, a lot of questions that were answered, and I thought it was a great presentation. So the timeline on that is that City Council is scheduled to vote at their last meeting in June. The school district will vote on July 18th, and the IDA will vote on July 19th to finalize the pilot. But once that's finalized, there's probably some other actions the city has to take. But for all intents and purposes, that kind of locks in the housing part of the development and gets us going to build the garage and the housing as part of one, hopefully very smooth process. We have signed MOUs with the developer for the parking garage aspect. We believe middle of next month, hopefully we'll have trucks and equipment on that site and doing some good things. So that's exciting. That's, we're at the beginning of the end of the process in terms of approvals for that project. Just a reminder, I think $22 million public investment, $37 million. Was that what it was?
I think it's 32.
$32 million private investment. Plus what we're trying to do in upgrading Boscov, tens of millions of dollars are going to be going into that block over the next, 2 to 5 years. So we're very excited about it, and it's approaching the end. Another update regarding the Binghamton Plaza. On a Tuesday, the city was served with the plaza owners petition and filing with the Appellate Division 3rd Department, which is essentially that entity now challenging our eminent domain proceeding. So because it's at this point in the legal process and there's actually active litigation, I'm going to be incredibly muted about what I say publicly at meetings like this, other than to say that we're very confident that we did things the right way, and we will argue our case and fight this. And there's a very narrow scope in New York State where the courts are looking at eminent domain. So sort of the tie goes to the city probably on this from a starting point. So we're very confident, but you may see that in the news over the next couple couple days and weeks.
What's the anticipated time frame of all that?
I don't know.
Year, 2, 3?
I don't know if it's, I think probably a 12-month time frame would be reasonable. There's, I'm sure, briefing that has to happen back and forth, and then ultimately it will end up in oral arguments, I'd imagine, in Albany if it comes to that. So it's a 9-member, Court of Appeals. So this is the major leagues now, which is good. We like that. Sarah and I visited, is it CMA on Bevere Street? CMP. Okay, I knew it was CMP. On Bevere Street, we did a business visitation last week, 250,000 square feet of manufacturing space. I think the largest probably in the city. I can't think of a bigger building, the former Universal Instruments. A very impressive operation. They told us that right now they need to hire 50 welders over the next year or two. And obviously those jobs, those workers don't exist right now. It's just a microcosm of what we're seeing in the manufacturing industry. Big money, big opportunity for people that don't need a college degree, but don't yet have the skills. And so it's a very interesting operation. They're doing incredible work internationally, but just the sheer size of what they're doing is incredibly impressive. And again, getting me and getting economic development staff out into the community and into these businesses, I think is a really important thing, because when I go to the IDA and I talk about the need for housing and the need for a workforce improvement, it's not me talking. I'm representing the wishes of small businesses, and in this case, a very large corporation that is saying, we want to expand in Binghamton. We need bodies and we need housing. So that was great. And then, the next thing is we're in the consolidated funding application, the state grant period. We're planning on having a robust application. Not necessarily anything that I can think of that would touch the BLDC. I think the BLDC is applying for one thing, right?
Yes. So the BLDC will be talking about our July meeting, but we'll be putting forward a New York Main Street Acre project application for Boscov's, as we are the proud owners of the building.
So that will come as a resolution at the next meeting. Okay. I think that was it for my comments.
How do they think they're gonna find 50 welders in the next year? Do they go to the high schools? Do they?
It's a combination, and Frank, obviously I was pushing MAP and all this other stuff, and their biggest thing is that they need to find employees that show up on time, are good workers, let alone being good welders, right? Which is a highly skilled thing. They need to kind of build a bench of just solid people who are good workers who want to work. And then from there, from that pool of people, they can train them. But, the fact of the matter is that you pull a skilled welder off the production line to try to, teach a group of people, that's now impacting your production too. So we shared some things. I know we're going to be continuing in contact with them. BOCES is a huge population of people that they can pull from, and it's the sky's the limit in terms of people getting involved there and making very good money without a degree.
Relocation grants. MACNY, the Manufacturing Association, Central New York, I think, was talking about trying to draw people back, to this area, and relocation grants could be, one way to help bring some people back.
So you're maybe somebody originally from here, you're a welder down in South Carolina or something, and
Yeah.
Interesting.
Come back to be with your family,
There you go.
friends.
There's a lot going on in Central New York and upstate New York in general that hopefully you can start drawing some people back as opposed to
We need
out
good
migration.
campaigns then. Marketing.
It's nice that we have so much work.
Yeah.
Just gotta find the workers.
We do.
It's your job.
Many people.
Anything else, Mayor?
That's all.
Sarah, do you want to add to that?
So the day after our last meeting, we had our business plan competition announcement. So Stephen Gagne from Electric Light Apparel was our first place winner. Uses thin, flexible micro LED arrays to create wearable illuminated graphics, targeting apparel like hats, jackets, and backpacks. The startup uses lighted patches to display company logos, organization emblems, and municipal insignias. I think the really exciting thing about this company is its potential use in safety for construction workers or people that are working in low light environments to provide more visibility. I know he also has some ideas of applications in terms of just drawing attention to different brands or, how companies might be able to use this to literally be more flashy when they're out and about. But I think the safety aspect of it's really exciting. So, and he's a great example of someone. He worked with the Triple Cities Makerspace. He worked with a number of other startup services before he hit the business plan competition. So he's kind of gone through the full gamut of things that are offered in this area. Went through the business plan competition, was awarded these funds and all of the support services that come along with that. So he'll be able to grow his business through that. So we're excited to check in with him in a few months and see how things are going and be able to tell that story. Similarly to how Laura Whitmore, who won last year, has been a really great advocate talking about how she used all of the services for the business plan competition too. She created an app, added more customers, added new kind of services that she offers directly as a result of her participation and the investment of the BLDC. And in this case, we also had M&T Bank sponsoring part of the first place award this year. It's a great partnership. We'll be looking to work with them and any other companies that are interested in supporting the competition either monetarily or with in-kind donations of services. Second place was Vidova La Couverture. It is a boutique on Clinton Street that had just had its grand opening the weekend before the business plan competition. I know she had a great opening weekend. She sold out of a lot of her products. She's already doing custom orders for people that didn't have their sizes in stock. She was previously operating all online, so going into a brick and mortar was definitely a new experience for her, but she's had a lot of success to this point. And we've had a lot of conversations with her over the last few months about how we can best support her, and hopefully this investment of money will just make her that much more successful. And third place was Perfectly Poured. That's Ashley Hall. She makes candles, wax melts, body care items. She's young, she's excited. She has, I think, a bright future ahead of her, and hopefully participation and winning that third place will just give her that additional confidence that she needs to move forward with the business. Anything you want to add?
Just the second and third place winners were also graduates of the SVP 607 program as well.
Yes, yep, the Support Black Business 607 program. So again, showing that we have that entrepreneurial ecosystem where you can be kind of supported from A to Z and find success here in Binghamton, I think has generated a lot of interest in folks starting here. I know Joel's fielding calls weekly on people that are looking to get into brick and mortar commercial spaces and trying to match make between different landlords and spaces in the city. So overall, very happy with how that went, and huge thank you to Joel for all of the work that he always does in the business plan and the support of Pear and his group over at the incubator and everyone who makes that a success. So definitely a group effort there. So we're happy that continues. I think it was the 13th year this year,
Yes.
13th annual. So we'll keep that going for another 13 years, I think.
Is there an increase every year in the amount of people?
There definitely was an increase between last year and this year.
Yeah.
Last
Great.
year we had to
Last year was
extend the
kind of dry.
deadline because we didn't have enough people, and this year we had, I think, 16.
Yes.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, and I think some of those folks will hopefully reapply next year. We'll reach out to them again. They weren't quite ready, but they will be with another year under their belts.
Great.
Good stuff. We also announced the technical completion of the Downtown Arts and State Street reconstruction project. I think there's a couple other punch list items that need to be done, but we're already seeing expanded hours from venues on that street. I know Old Barn Market just announced that their coffee shop's going to be open another 4 hours a day because they've had really good demand. I know when I'm in there, I always have to wait to get a cup of coffee, so it's a good problem to have. That is where, not through the BLDC, but through the city, we'll be applying for a New York Main Street grant for State Street and Prospect Street. We had a ton of interest from those really large, older buildings for facade work, windows, upper story renovations to add additional residential units there. A couple of those properties are in probate right now, so the timing will line up well that those should be ready for prime time when we're hopefully getting awarded through this fund, and that's up to $500,000 total project or total grant award, up to 75% of the total project cost for each building. So hopefully we'll be able to really invest a bunch of money in that. And Prospect Street as well. I mean, it's just one block over, but it's got the bus station there. I think people don't necessarily see that as a thoroughfare. So any small investments we can make there to make that a little bit more pedestrian friendly will be great. It's also a good omen of things to come. We're going to be doing phase 2 of the Downtown Arts Project, as well as Henry Street. And knowing that this was very successful, even though it was a tough construction season for the folks that were on that street, I think it gives us a case study to point to when we're out and about talking to folks about the next level of renovations we'll be doing in the city of Binghamton. And Perry, I might ask you to tag in on this one, but the Business Incubator Association of New York State Conference was in Binghamton. We hosted a reception over at the incubator. The BLDC sponsored some of the food for that. I thought it was great just getting all of those incubator professionals demonstrating that Binghamton is an innovation ecosystem, innovation hub with all of the new energy New York investment that's coming down in the greater Binghamton area. But there's a lot of interest in this area, specifically from those entrepreneurs, startups, incubators, and innovation professionals. So we're really happy about all the work that Pear's team did on getting that conference to be a success here in Binghamton and over on the campus. Couple of updates on the Charles Street Business Park. Save Around should be in today with their option agreements, executing those, paying us for those. We'll have Patrick countersign, and then they'll be able to advance on hopefully the next part of their project. They're currently working with their tenant on the build out of the Emerson facility with an idea for move-in later this summer. And we're working on a formal announcement with that tenant so we can get that information out to all of you folks and to the community as well. But that'll be a really exciting project. It represents the first major investment in the Charles Street Business Park in many, many years, and will hopefully be an indication of additional interest in the business park as well. And we should know, I know we have an option agreement outstanding from last year that expires in July, so we'll be communicating with that partner on what their next steps are, if they're going to be continuing their due diligence to figure out if they can make it work at that site, or whether they'll be not renewing, in which case we'll be looking at new partners who might be interested in that space. We're also working on the cogen plant. We're working with NYSERDA on a reuse analysis. I know we've talked about this a little bit. They came and did a site visit. They were really, really pleasantly surprised by the condition of the building. And they see that there's a lot of opportunity for reuse of that for ideally private sector investment to come in. We get a lot of demand for light industrial space. So if that can be transitioned into something that's active and contributing to our tax base and our job base, that'll be great. But we're still early in that process, but we'll keep you updated as things go on. Final thing, the agency and the Leadership Alliance put together with the CNY Business Journal these revitalized Greater Binghamton magazines. Mayor Cram has an article in there that's really great about all the investments we're making in the future of Binghamton, as well as just articles about what's happening around the Greater Binghamton area. So I encourage you to take a copy, take 2, give 1 to your friends. We have a bunch, so if you need more, I'm happy to provide more. And that's it from me.
Great. A lot going on. Thank you both very much. Any questions, comments? All right, the next meeting is July 27th at 9 o'clock.
We will have a July meeting. We're looking at not having an August meeting if we don't have anything. Hopefully give you guys a little bit of a summer break, but we'll keep you updated on that. But there will definitely be a July meeting.
You said July 28th.
27th, I think.
Yeah.
All right, motion for adjournment.
Make a motion.
Thank you, Mayor. Second, thank you, Frank. We're adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you.